So, the purpose of today's episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is my thinking, is to help people understand why they broke.
Good luck with that one. Oh, man.
Hopefully they take it. We'll see what happens. But so I'm going to give you a lot of context as to why I decided to do this one. But let me start off with some stats quickly, because these are mind-blowing stats to me. So a Sanlam Financial Confidence Index found that 35%, only 35% of South Africans trust their financial abilities, while 81% feel stressed about money, and a mere 17% are satisfied with their financial solution. People aged between 40 and 60 show the lowest self-trust in managing finances. This, I know you're not going to believe this one. 42% of South Africans are considered financially literate.
Is it as high as that?
That's why you weren't going to believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe that. I mean, we have ministers.
So, I guess what is, in terms of that stat, what is their definition of financial literacy?
So it says, meaning they understand basic concepts like inflation, interest, and risk diversification.
Okay, it doesn't say how to generate.
Nope.
How to make your money work for you.
Nope.
Okay, so that would be like, yeah.
I mean, even that, like inflation, interest, and risk diversification, that's like, do you, as an individual, is that something you need to know when it comes to your money?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but do you know how to read a financial statement? Do you know where your money's coming from in the first place?
So that would be the biggest thing. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki teaches there's 6 words: assets, liabilities, income, expenses, and cash flow.
Yeah.
Those are the 6 most important words. And that comes from your financial statement. And the average person today doesn't understand cash flow because they have no concept of income versus expenses. Never mind assets and liabilities.
So, if this is your first time seeing this video, I would like to welcome you to the Uncovering Greatness podcast. I am your host, Sully, and today I am joined by your therapist's favorite processor.
I am not a therapist.
No, I said your therapist's favorite processor. Therapists come to you for help.
That is correct. I wouldn't term it quite like that.
I'm not good with words. I just say the things that come to my mind.
You just say what comes to mind. Okay, great.
We're joined by Nicole Mitchell. Nicole is the lead processor at Uncovering Greatness, and what she helps you do is get out of the way of yourself.
Yeah, so, and more so than that, it's find out what you want and help you get it.
And I think that this topic, because you said that to me last week, 2 weeks ago's episode, and then I was speaking about, I said like something along the lines of, I don't even know what I want. Yep. Now, to give you context, so then I started reading this book called The Psychology of Money. Because I was like, man, I want more money. But then I was like, wait, what does that even mean? Like, what does me wanting more money actually, what's the number? And then I remembered the way you speak about money and the way you teach on money, right? That it's not emotional, all those things. But then I was like, I would be very excited to talk to you about the psychology of money.
So I guess that, I don't know about the psychology of money, but anyways, let's go back to the very basics is, what is money going to give you? Okay. So, for example, like, if someone said, and I know that you're also like this, that if we said, Sully, if you do X, Y, and Z, we'll pay you more money, you'll go, well, that's not going to drive me. Money doesn't drive me. And a lot of people associate money as a negative.
Yeah.
They don't associate it as what can money give you.
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, it's not a case of you want more money, it's you want a better lifestyle.
Yes.
Or you want a better house, or you want more freedom, you want more time freedom, or something, something along those lines. So people will say, I'm not money doesn't drive me. But if you had more money, for example, you could start up a community center,
Mm-hmm.
or you could start up, I don't know, a foundation for dogs, or donate to the SPCA, or things like that. And a lot of times people do not connect money to the want. So I want to be able to volunteer at an SPCA or a children's home or whatever it is. But they don't connect that if I have more money, I have more freedom and I have more time. So therefore I can do that. Because money is often a pain point for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing, is money's a pain point because I don't have it. So
Okay.
I'll just push it aside and say, oh no, money doesn't drive me. It's actually, I want to volunteer at shelters, or I want to volunteer at, or I want to do this, or, I want to be able to go to the gym, or, I often hear people will say, oh, no, I don't want any more money. But then they'll say something along the lines of, yeah, I want to be able to teach kids.
Yeah, they're going to do that.
And this is where it's not the money itself, it's what money can give you.
Yeah, I think, and I feel like that's for me, and I think as we've, spoken more and all of that, I was definitely a money doesn't drive me, it doesn't. But the freedom to do what I want to do with my time comes from me having money.
Correct.
Right? So if I don't have money, then essentially, I can still do what I want with my time, but it's not going to be the way that I want to do it. Right? It's probably going to be more in a homeless style fashion where I'm struggling a bit. And I think that's always like the misunderstanding. Well, I'm generalizing. That was my misunderstanding of what drives me. And as I'm unpacking that a bit more, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. For me to do anything that I want to do, I'm probably going to need some money. I'm not saying I need billions.
But and herein lies the problem, is that is what most people think. In order for me to do what I need to do, I need more money. Okay. The problem is that the average person today, they earn more money, they'll take that money and they'll go buy a bigger car.
Yeah.
Or they'll buy a bigger house, or they'll buy more stuff, or they'll shop on Temu, or they'll, and this is where financial literacy comes in. It's like, do you understand how to make your money work for you? And so it's not about how much money you earn, it's what are you doing with your money. And that's where that a financial statement from Robert Kiyosaki is so important, is, do you understand how your cash flows? Do you understand that your house is not an asset? Yes, I know the bank defines it as an asset, but in Robert Kiyosaki's terms, in the cash flow game, an asset is something that generates income for you. So if you, for example, have a house and you have a tenant on it, like you have a flat, and that flat pays for the cost of your house, then it is an asset.
Your house is an asset.
Your house is an asset. But if you live in your house and it doesn't generate you any income, it's not a cash flowing asset. It's an asset. It costs you money to live there. You have to pay rates and taxes. Even if your house is paid off, you still have to pay rates and taxes, lights and water. It's still costing you money to live there.
Yeah.
So it's important for people to understand that, do you know how your cash flows?
And that's an interesting one, because on the research that I did, it says many people save driven by fear and scarcity, not goals, leading to anxiety and avoidance.
Yeah, that's how the world works.
You save for a rainy day, right? You don't, for example, like you're speaking about assets and liabilities, you're not saving to purchase an asset that will help you generate more cash flow. You're saving because you're like, what if something bad happens and then I don't have money?
Correct. And it's just, Robert Kiyosaki says savers are losers. And it's not to say that it's a bad thing to save. But if all you are doing is saving, you will never keep up with inflation.
Yeah.
And if all you are doing is saving and living in scarcity, you are not living a life. And, you know, Kim Kiyosaki talks about, can you take yourself to a place where you live in a forced scarcity to create assets? So let's say you earn, I don't know, 10,000 Rand a month.
Yeah.
Can you take 1,000 Rand a month? So when I say earn, you take home 10,000 Rand. Can you take 1,000 Rand a month and invest, take it away before you even start and invest it into an asset? So you're forcing yourself to live off 9,000.
Yeah.
And so you don't even see that 1,000 Rand. And you invest 1,000 straight away before you even before it even hits your account. That's a forced scarcity because you're forcing yourself to live on 9,000, not 10,000.
Yeah.
Most people today are living on 10,000 plus their credit cards. And I say most, it's a generalization because not everybody does it.
Can't get a credit card.
And not everybody. We learned that one this week, didn't we? In the last week.
That's a topic for another podcast.
It's a topic for another podcast, but it is. It's, do you know what your credit score is? Do you even have a credit score?
Yeah.
Do you have credit? Because if you are one of these people who saves and you buy everything cash and you are very diligent and you save, and well, guess what? You can't get credit. So that means when you want to go and buy a car, you can't buy a car because you have no credit score. So or a negative credit score, or so unless you get credit, you can't buy anything. And that's another way savers are losers, because you save everything, you save up, you go buy cash, you think you're so diligent. Oh, I don't have any credit cards. But then you want to go buy a house and the bank says, oh, sorry, you can't have a bond because you don't have a credit score.
Yeah.
And so it's a real catch-22. It's, you know, somebody said to me, it's a bit like when you first come out of university, you're applying for a job, but they tell you you can't have a job because you need experience. And you're going, but I've just out of university, you can't get a job because you don't have experience, but you need a job to get the experience. And chicken and egg story.
Yeah.
And it's the same with credit. So if you are not financially aware of all of these things, you are going to lose. And these are things that school does not teach us.
No.
School does not teach us how to create a credit score. School does not teach you how to live in scarcity so that you can generate assets. School does not teach you what kind of assets to look at. I mean, people go, oh, my car's an asset. No, your car's only an asset if you've got an Uber driver driving it that's generating money, and even then you're lucky if it's an asset.
It's a tricky asset because it's just depreciating
every day. And it's like, and then you kind of go, okay, cool, I'm going to go to stocks and trading, and then they tell you, no, you need 200,000 Rand before you can even start in stocks, and you're like, what? But there are ways to do it. To get started with, in terms of assets. But if you don't know, and then, you know, we go back to interest rates and inflation. And it's like, do you understand if you borrow money and you go and get a credit card, what your interest on your credit card should be versus what
it is?
And are you even aware you can apply for the exact same 2 credit cards from the exact same company, and they will give you 2 different interest rates? And it's just like, are you aware of those things?
Yeah.
And are you aware that you can negotiate the interest rate? I mean, if you're buying a car, do you know that you can negotiate the interest rate with the bank?
I didn't know that.
So I mean, and you can get a fixed rate and you can get a flexi rate. And it's just, do you understand what those are? Because a lot of people will just go and they'll just say, well, I can't get a credit card, I can't get a loan for my car, so I'll get a loan from, let's say, I don't know, some loan shark. And they give you an interest rate of 25%.
Yeah.
And people are just so excited that they got money, they don't even think about the credit rate, the interest rate. And so they don't even know what that means. And it's just, there's a lot of people out there offering money. It's high risk money for them to lend it to you because you don't have a credit score, but it comes with a high price. And it's just, people don't think to ask those questions. So, and like, what's the term on the repayment? So when I had I used to own a laundromat, and I had 5 or 6 ladies that worked for me. And it was quite fascinating to observe, because towards the end of the month, in the first week of the month, I started to get complaints from customers that the phone wasn't being answered at the laundromat. And so the one day I was there, and the phone starts ringing, and they all just looked at each other. And they're all like looking at each other, and I'm like, what is going on? And so I march over and answer the phone, and of course it's I think it was a furniture company.
Okay.
They were looking for the repayments from one of the ladies who worked in the laundromat. And it turns out that, after the call, I was like, okay, so now I understand. You guys are all terrified of answering the phone because it's somebody who's asking for money from one of you. Okay, so I had them then list out all their loans that they had, all their accounts that they had, clothing accounts, furniture accounts. And we sat down, and I kind of drew up a plan as to how to help them pay back these loans so that I could help them get rid of my problem of them not answering the phone.
Doesn't help
and
anybody.
It turns out that this one lady, she had bought sheets. At least I think it was sheets. Or it might have been a bedroom suite. I don't know. But anyways, she had paid, it had cost 3,000 Rand for her to buy all this stuff. And with all the interest and everything over the 5-year period, she was going to land up paying like 15,000 Rand.
For sheets.
For the sheets and whatever it was. For this 3,000 Rand.
What the hell?
And, this is where like the Poppy Act and all these different acts have come in place. Because this is going back several years ago.
Yeah.
And the government is trying to help people so that they don't land up in situations like that. I mean, for me, it was very simple. I phoned them up and said, this is daylight robbery. And I was like, no way. She's paid, X amount. And, you guys can, like, forget it.
Yeah.
And we came to an agreement. We would pay a lump sum of, I don't know, whatever it was, 1,000 Rand. And then it was done, and then she just paid me the 1,000 Rand, because it was crazy the amount of money that they were collecting from her based on what she had actually bought.
Yeah.
And like I say, it was a while ago before we had all these things in place, but it's still happening today, is because people are unaware of what that actually means. And so, like, I mean, you talk 42% of people are financially literate. I'm like, I would say 42% of what? Because if it's your people that have a matric,
different story.
Or people that have a certain level of education.
Yeah.
But even then, the average person today does not understand money. They do not understand how it flows, and they do not understand like interest and things like that and what it means. And even a loan turn on, like if you go and buy a car, they say a residual or a balloon payment.
Balloon payment.
Does the average person actually understand what that means?
I'll be honest, I did not until I researched it, and I was like, this is madness. Get that balloon payment out of here.
And in terms of, I know, in terms of when you go and buy a car, they don't even ask you what payment terms you would like, how long you would like the payment. They just apply to the bank at us, and they take what the bank gives them.
So would you say then, like in that instance, it's a situation of a few people not understanding? So I know that. So you buying the car, I'm the sales rep. I go to the bank to help you get this financing. I don't understand it completely. I understand what I need to.
So the sales rep then deals with the financial person
Of the dealership.
at
Yes,
the
yes,
dealership.
yes, yeah.
So you've got your F&I lady or gents
Whatever.
person.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't, not to be, but you know, in terms of you've got your financial person.
Yeah.
So the sales rep isn't even dealing with it. The financial person is dealing with it. So it becomes a chain of, and the financial person is doing what they've been instructed to do
100%.
by the dealership. Why? Because the dealership gets a kickback.
Yeah.
So the higher the interest rate, the better for the dealership.
Yeah.
So the dealership makes more money. You know, in terms of if, and they don't even ask you, they just tell you, here's the options.
Yeah.
And if you are not clear on what you want, how you want it, you know, you can, I mean, I think, you know, today people are offering a flexi rate at 14%. And I'm going, no, you should be getting a fixed rate at I mean, sorry. People are offering a fixed rate at 14. You should be getting a fixed rate at 13 or 12. You know, the dealerships are offering you sort of 13, 12.5 to 13% flexi rate. Well, you should be getting between 11 and 12
on the flexi.
On the flexi.
Yeah.
But if you don't know that, you don't even know that you can ask that.
And I think that's also the baffling thing, right? Is that I feel as though we don't. I mean, I'm not knocking car dealerships or whatever. Like, you have your business to run.
And it's not even car dealerships. It's all industries. And I'm just using car dealerships because people can relate to it. Because people go buy a car and they have no idea what they're doing. But it would be the same as you go and anything you buy.
Yeah, it applies to the sheet situation that you just spoke about.
100%. Furniture loans.
All of those things, you don't know that you can actually sit there and say, hey, no, wait, can I actually do it like this instead of like that? And let them go and find out if you can. Rather ask the question and get told, no, we can't. Then just go, okay, cool, I'm just going to accept it for what it is. Because my take is, I feel like that's how people end up staying broke, because you inevitably just chasing your debt. You never actually have money to invest.
And this is where people, you know, it has changed. But I remember with my mom a number of years ago, maybe, I don't know, sort of 15 years ago, she lives in the UK, and there was a young girl who worked with her in the stables, and she came home and she was so excited because she'd started working at the stables, and she had to open a bank account in order to get her money from the payment from the stables. And when she went to open her bank account, they gave her this wonderful thing called a credit card. And this young lady was so excited that she'd been given a credit card, and she had access to some ridiculous amount of money. And my mom sat her down and said, you don't touch that money. It's not free money.
No, definitely not.
And she explained to her, you know, this is what you need to do, and this is how you get a credit score, and this is what you know, don't ever spend more than, you know, this amount on your credit card. And my mom sat her down and explained everything to her. And my mom was absolutely horrified that in England they can do that. Well, I was just like, well, in South Africa they do that too.
Yeah. I'll tell you nothing.
It has changed with certain, you know, government rules and regulations and the Poppy Act and all these kind of things. But the challenge is that if you don't, it's still the same challenge. If you don't understand how money flows, because cash is always flowing.
Always.
It comes into your bank account and it goes out of your bank account.
That's cash flow.
It is always flowing. The question is, how are you making it flow? That's the one thing you do have control over, is where your cash flows to. Yeah. It can flow to expenses, or it can flow to an asset.
Yeah. And, you know, like you were speaking about, you know, taking 1,000 rand, for example, and investing it into an asset. And like in this psychology of money, He says he's spoken to a number of people, and usually the answer for something like that is, well, what am I going to actually get out of that? Like, what am I going to get out of R1,000 investment? You know, I'm not going to get much out of it. And for me, the way I actually looked at that was, well, what am I actually going to learn from doing that? Right? It's R1,000 isn't as much of a risk if you think about it than going, okay, when I have 50,000 Rand, I'm going to invest in Nicole's genius idea versus I'm going to invest 1,000. If I lose 1,000, not too bad.
But also people don't understand the generating income. So, you know, I'll use the crypto space. If 5 years ago you bought 1,000 rands worth of Bitcoin, okay, and that was after the
funniness
of COVID, where it flew through the roof. But even if you had bought when it was down, or up, you still would have made money.
Yeah.
But the problem is people look and they go, I bought Bitcoin today, or I bought Bitcoin yesterday and the price has dropped today, so I've lost money. They don't understand I've bought Bitcoin because I'm investing so that in 10 years' time, that 1,000 Rand that I've spent every month has accumulated through deflation, through interest, through all of those things, and it's generated me an asset.
Yeah.
Because people think an asset must generate you income now.
Yeah,
And because it is, I've spent 1,000 Rand. What am I going to get for it?
Yeah.
I put 1,000 Rand into, you know, the internet, and I've got nothing to show for it.
Would you say that's like consumer culture? Because like I spend 1,000 for this phone, I get the phone now.
Exactly. I ordered 10 of these on Temu, and I got 10.
Yeah.
They might be crap.
But I got what I paid for.
But I got what I paid for. I mean, I laughed. I saw a post on, someone had posted, I have a pile of all my Amazon returns that I was too late to return. So let's create a boot sale. You know, anybody else and let's create a boot sale, and, you know, we can generate.
Yeah.
How many of you have bought stuff that you've never used?
And it's just sitting there.
Dusting. Creating dust. Or you've used stuff once. That's consumerism. That's what is supposed to happen.
Sorry. Go back to the last episode of a podcast that Nicole and I did where she was talking about decluttering your mind. I think that's exactly the same with consumerism. You have all these stuff that you've spent money on that you're just not letting go of, which means the way I would view that is you can't allow for new stuff to come in.
Well, I mean, in one book I was reading, the guy says people will park their 500,000 Rand car outside and all their junk is in their garage.
At gym equipment.
And the junk, but their car, that's the asset, is parked outside.
Yeah. Flipping all.
And I had such a chuckle because I'm guilty of that.
That's a fascinating way of thinking about it.
And it's like all their junk is in their garage.
That junk is way more important.
It's bits of paper, and it's
just
old photographs, and, you know, files. And, you know, maybe there's a generator in there that's worth 10,000. But the car that's worth 500,000 Rand is parked outside.
And I mean, you see, that's why I feel like, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen those shows, Storage Wars.
Yes.
I think that's why those shows are so successful, because people buy storage units because I need somewhere to keep my stuff. And then you clean, forget about it, or you move, or whatever happens. And I've seen ones with cars in the storage unit. And I was like, man, that is, you don't even, you spend money so easily without realizing the impact that you create on yourself, right? You just
But that's why Temu and Shein, and certainly in the South African market, have just
smashing it.
I mean, latest I see Temu's opening a warehouse in South Africa.
Oh, that's going to cut out the, what's that thing? The customs thingy. Yeah.
So they're opening a warehouse in South Africa. Why? Because people have gone mad. I mean, I was laughing. I was listening to a bunch of school kids the other day, and the one's going, "Oh, I shop on Temu," and I'm like, "Really?
It's a thing.
It's a thing."
Yeah.
And I mean, we joke in our office around, we'll buy it on Temu and what have you.
Yeah, we have a seasoned Temu shopper. He's a bit of an addict.
I think think he's used it 3 times, but let's not.
Okay, not an addict. My bad. Sorry. He just loves it. I think he just gets excited by the fact that he gets the stuff.
But also it works.
Yeah.
You know, there's a system and it works, and that's what makes Temu so great. But if we go back to people will throw their money at things.
Yeah.
How many pairs of shoes have you got in your cupboard? How many winter jackets have you got? You know, do you need 20 jackets? Do you need 20 pairs of shoes? Or could you take that money and invest it into something small like Bitcoin, for example? And I'm not by any means saying go and invest in crypto. Find something you understand, find something you want to learn more about. You know, there are lots of different things you can invest in, but you don't need a huge amount of money to go and buy Bitcoin every month.
Yeah, you know, what you're saying there is so spot on. And I think that that's, for me, sometimes where people have a misunderstanding. So one, we're not telling you what to do with your money. Do whatever you want with your money.
Correct.
It's your money. You earned it. Do you. I think this is the way I would put it. And like I said it in the start, this is to help you maybe understand why you broke and be a little bit, it's educational. So I was looking at, in Alex, there's a guy that sells slop chips. And it's just this little hole in the wall thing, and he has a little fryer. And I was like, I wonder if I went to this guy and I said, I will give you 2,000 Rand so we can maybe create a little bit more space for you. And obviously, you know, I'd figure out the repayment plan. But that's an investment, right? I can take 2,000, say to him, I would like 3,000 in the next 4 months. How can we make that happen type of thing? Because he's always busy. That's one thing I've seen. He's always busy. But
how do you help him expand? Or, you know, there's different ways you could do it. And, you know, Barry always tells the story of a lady that he met who had a very wealthy mindset, is that she used to sell tomatoes at the market. And how it started off is she was going to work, she'd take a portion of her income and buy tomatoes, and then her daughter would sell the tomatoes at the market. And within a year, she had 5 people selling tomatoes at the market.
Job creation.
So at 5 different markets, but that's a wealthy mindset, because she was taking a portion of her income and investing it in something else to generate income.
Yeah.
And that's where people misunderstand. They think, oh, in order to invest, I need, I don't know, 2 million Rand to go and buy an apartment to rent it out. And they lose money on the apartment anyway. They spend their life saving the 2 million Rand, and then they don't understand interest rates, all those kind of things, and they lose money because they don't understand the process.
Zero idea how the property market works.
And so, you know, and this is where, like, entrepreneurs that have had very little success at school are often the greatest entrepreneurs, because they understand cash flow. They are not conditioned by the system to go out, get a job, get a good education, and work until they're 65. They have had no choice, but so in order to survive, they've had to learn how money flows. And that's where some of your wealthiest people have had the least amount of education. Why? Because they weren't boxed into the system.
Yeah, and you know what the thing is that I also think is great that I'm now learning is that it's also not about when we talk about like entrepreneurs, we're not talking about the billionaires that you see, the guys on the Forbes list. We're talking about the lady that sells tomatoes. We're talking about the guy that sells scones in the morning. There's a guy there by Fat Ginger that sells scones. He's done by, I think, like 9 o'clock. All his scones are sold. Why? Because that flow of traffic is hectic, and he's consistently generating income every morning, that now he's hired another 2 people to go to the other side.
So we saw that by our place. Also on Assets Road in Boksburg, there was a lady that was there. She was there from 5:30 every morning. And then she grew to, there was now 2 of them. And then now there's 3 of them that come. And same traffic light, but now instead of her standing at 1, there's 3 people, and they cover all 4 directions, and they don't even get to 9 o'clock anymore. And that is exactly right in terms of entrepreneurs. That is a wealthy mindset thinking. Find someone who can come and help you generate income. Because the lady that started selling the scones, if she is sick, the other 2 ladies are there working for her.
It's an asset.
And that's how you create an asset. Whether you work or not, the money comes in.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, it's become such an important, and it's become so important because I don't even think many people realize the mindset that that woman has. You could probably learn so much from her and how she's done what she's done. And I love that you said sometimes people have no choice of what they need, what needs to get done. So they do it. It works, it may not work, but more than anything, they learn and they just keep on going with it.
Keep going because they don't have a
They
choice.
don't have a choice.
And yet the person that has a job,
Yep.
has everything going for them,
26, the money is in the bank.
and they don't have, they are the people that have choices, and yet they don't even realize it, and they go and spend all their money on Shein, Temu.
Yeah, and then my boss must pay me more.
And then they go, yeah, it's your problem that I don't have any money.
And also it's like I was saying this to Barry the other day. Is like people don't understand like this. And maybe you can help me. I don't know if this is a normal thing, but yearly increases, right? So every year, and I think it's in the corporate space. People expect to get an increase, and the increase is based off inflation, and it's based off cost of living going up. My mind said to me, but just like you affected by inflation and cost of living and interest, is the business not affected by that as well?
Correct.
So if you're doing the same thing, right, that you're doing your job, cost of living goes up, your salary must automatically go up, but your performance is not going up. That was just the thought that I had.
And yes, that should be a topic for another day because there's so much in that. But yeah, it is. People don't understand how businesses work.
Yeah.
People see the business generates X amount, and so the business generates, I don't know, 100,000 Rand. Now you must pay me, 50,000 because there's two of us, and so, you must pay me half. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. But people don't understand how businesses work.
Yeah.
But they only see you drive a fancy car and you're the business owner and you live in a nice house. And
where you live. Look at what you eat for lunch.
And they see you shop at Woolworths and they see all these things. But the general thing is that the average person does not understand how money flows. And if you understood how money flows, you could change your life.
Yeah. I wanted to ask for final thoughts, but I think that's
it.
Great place to end. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again. If you guys got value, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Let's grow this Uncovering Greatness podcast. Let's grow this YouTube platform. If you found value, please comment, share, let us know your thoughts. We're not sitting here saying that we are right, and these are just our views and our opinions and what we see in the world. Yes, we hope that you found value, and we hope that this helps you uncover your greatness. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.